Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, you might want to check out part 1 of this story, where I talked about the little girl my brother and I would see in our childhood bedroom. It turns out we weren't the only ones she visited. This is the story of what my 2 older sisters experienced after we moved away. The Little Girl, Part 2. So, a little while after the events of the first story, my parents finally bought a new house on the outskirts of the city. My brother and I moved with them, but since my 2 older sisters were already in college nearby, they stayed behind to live with my grandmother in the old apartment in Sampaloc, Manila. It made more sense for their studies, and they shared a room, and even a bed with my grandmother during that time. It was during this period that things started to get really strange for them too. Let's start with my eldest sister, or as we call her, Athi. One night, she had a dream that felt incredibly real, almost like she was half awake. In this dream, she saw our grandmother get out of bed and quietly walk out of the room and down the stairs. A moment later, my sister felt herself gently lifting off the bed. She was floating. Just like Peter Pan, she drifted out of the room and started following our grandmother down the stairs. She told me later that she actually loved the feeling. It was exhilarating, like flying. But then, the pleasant feeling started to change. She began to pick up speed as she floated down the staircase, a bit too fast for comfort. Instinctively, she reached out, trying to grab onto the handrail to slow herself down and regain some control. The second her hand made contact with the railing, everything snapped. She was instantly back in her bed, wide awake, her heart pounding. Her eyes darted around the dark room, and that's when she saw her. Standing right beside the bed was a small figure, a little girl, just watching them. My sister glanced at the clock on the bedside table. The glowing numbers read exactly 12 midnight. She was shaken, but she tried to brush it off as just a vivid nightmare. A strange, unsettling dream and nothing more. She didn't mention it to anyone, wanting to just forget the whole thing. But the little girl wasn't finished. Now let's talk about my other elder sister. A few nights after my Athi's experience, she had an almost identical dream. She too found herself floating up from the bed, a feeling she also described as surprisingly enjoyable and peaceful at first. She drifted through the room, mesmerized by the sensation of weightlessness. But her peaceful flight took a turn when she realized she was floating directly towards the wide-open window. A sense of panic set in. What if she floated right out? Just like our other sister, she instinctively reached out, grabbing onto the window frame to stop her movement. The moment she touched the frame, she was jolted back to reality, finding herself tucked safely in bed. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, her gaze fell upon the spot right next to the bed, and there she was. The same little girl, standing silently in the shadows. And as she was floating, just before she was pulled back to her bed, she had caught a clear glimpse of that small, still figure. The sight sent a shiver down her spine, but like our Athi, she kept it to herself. She convinced herself it was just the stress of college playing tricks on her mind. For a while, both of my sisters carried their secret experiences alone, each believing they were the only one who had this bizarre floating dream and had seen the mysterious little girl. They went about their days, studying, coming home, and trying not to think about the strange events of the night. It wasn't until a few weeks later, when they were just chatting in bed before going to sleep, that the topic came up. I'm not sure who brought it up first, but one of them casually mentioned having a weird dream about floating. The other's eyes went wide. Wait, she said. You too? They started comparing notes. The feeling of lifting off the bed, the initial enjoyment, the sudden panic, and the desperate grab for something solid to stop themselves. Every detail matched perfectly. And then came the most chilling part. Did you see anything after? One of them asked hesitantly. The other nodded slowly. A little girl, she whispered, standing right by the bed. The realization hit them like a ton of bricks. They had experienced the exact same supernatural event on different nights. It wasn't just a dream. It was real. The shared knowledge was terrifying. That little girl wasn't a figment of their imagination. She was a presence in that room, and she had made herself known to both of them. You can imagine how scared they were. That night, and every single night after that, they made sure to pray long and hard before even thinking about closing their eyes. The comfort of their shared experience was overshadowed by the chilling reality of what it meant. They weren't alone in that room, and whatever was there was trying to interact with them in the most unsettling way possible. They never floated again, but the memory of the little girl by the bedside remained, a constant, creepy reminder of their time in that house. And that's the story of how the little girl showed herself to my sisters. It's crazy to think that she appeared to all of us siblings in such different, yet equally creepy ways. What do you guys think? Do you think she was trying to lead them somewhere? We've heard stories of other creepy tales from our neighbors in that apartment complex, but that will be told in my next stories to come. Whatever demon was in there, disguised as a little girl, we are thankful that we were raised having the Lord to protect us. Why do you think it disguises itself as a little girl? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening to part 2 of this creepy family story. It still gives me chills talking about it. If you have similar stories or any creepy ones, feel free to share them here and I will try to feature them in my next stories. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more strange tales, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.